Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Adult Sabbath School study. We're looking into the great controversy, and I'm joined here with Pastor Sasha, my friend Irina. My name is Monique, and I'm really excited to just get started. Lesson 8, here we go. First question I have, Pastor Sasha, is a little bit of a long one. So Hebrews 4:14 kind of illustrates how Jesus is our high priest. And not only that, but he's somebody that can relate to us. And so when I think about high priests, I think about Exodus, I think about the early sanctuary, and I think about Moses and Aaron. And there are a couple other people that thought a lot about Moses and Aaron, and that were Dathan and Abiram. And they were kind of jealous, and they definitely had the wrong heart posture. But what else was it that really had them swallowed up? Because if you look at Hebrews 10:19, it speaks about coming boldly, and they were pretty bold. So let's kind of talk about what it was that made them go wrong.
You're asking definitely a very interesting, and it's a double-layered question.
Okay.
Because what we have here in Numbers, the book of Numbers, chapter 16, it is a very, very interesting situation which occurred during Israel's travels around the desert. So, yes, these are basically you called Dathan and Abiram, but the fellow who is a ringleader, I would say, his name is Korah. So let's take a look what the chapter speaks about. Just let's read verses 1 through 3. Numbers 16, verses 1 through 3.
Now Korah, the son of Izhar, the son of Kohath, the son of Levi, with Dathan and Abiram, the sons of Eliab, and On, the son of Peleth, sons of Reuben, took men, and they rose up before Moses with some of the children of Israel, 250 leaders of the congregation, representatives of the congregation, men of renown. They gathered together against Moses and Aaron and said to them, "You take too much upon yourself, for all the congregation is holy, every one of them, and the Lord is among them. Why then do you exalt yourselves above the assembly of the Lord?" Okay, so sons of Reuben, so not sons of Levi. So they actually weren't priests, because Moses says a little bit about them being part of a priesthood, and I just assumed that I misunderstood.
Yeah, take a look at Korah.
Okay.
Whose descendant is he?
Izhar?
Izhar, then Kehath.
Oh, okay, so he's a son of Levi, but not Dathan and Abiram. Okay.
So,
Okay.
think it like this. So Korah, technically, is a cousin of Moses and a cousin of Aaron.
Oh, family drama.
Yes.
Sounds like it.
Okay, yeah.
We're dealing with a big family feud, and Korah goes outside his family bounds, outside the Levites, and brings in two big bosses from the tribe of Reuben to help him out. And they get like 250 other leaders. You know, that's a lot. To raise against, against Moses and Aaron, and they accuse Moses in basically being some kind of partial, because they say, "Oh, how come you put your own brother to be a high priest and you discriminate against the poor cousins?"
We were just stirring the pot here.
Oh, yeah, that's what is happening. Family feud, as I said.
So, from what I'm noticing here, though, in the first verse that she read, Korah is the only Levi there, and the other guys are not. They're from completely different family, technically, even though they're related. So, in that case, how are they even able to claim this if they're not Levites?
Oh, these two are not even planning to claim the priesthood, but they are supporting Korah, who is the instigator, who is basically trying to say to Moses that you behave unfairly, you you express favoritism toward your brother, and poor cousin is completely being ignored. But here, what Moses replies, if we can read here verses 8 through 10.
All right. Moses also said to Korah, "Now listen, you Levites. Isn't it enough for you that the God of Israel has separated you from the rest of Israelite community and brought you near himself to do the work of the Lord's tabernacle, and to stand before the community and minister to them? He has brought you and all your fellow Levites near himself, but now you are trying to get the priesthood too."
Yes. So, what is this? What do you feel? What do you feel when you read this? What is your perception? Do you think Korah was really bypassed and left aside? And it's not Korah. Behind Korah, there's all his family, because he has children, he has his brothers. This is the whole different family clans of cousins. Do you think they were kind of left behind, bypassed, deprived of something that belongs to them?
Not really. They just had a different role.
Yeah, and like especially since there's a lot of children of Israel, they have to minister to them every day, like all the time, 365 days a year. Like Aaron had to have like some kind of day off regardless. Like they all had shifts, no? Like
Shifts. So yes, when you talk about the priestly ministry, so the role of the priest, what do you think priests are doing in the sanctuary?
Sacrifice?
Yes, they're offering the sacrifices, daily offerings. They are officiating. They're officiating for sin offerings. One of the. Let me tell. Well, first of all, before we go there, from what you understand, do you think a priest is a privileged, cool job, or is it kind of a little bit of a different one?
I would honestly say it's probably one of the toughest jobs because, like, most people would expect the priest to be nearly perfect. So they always have to work on themselves and put in the most study. And, their ultimate goal should be just trying to get as close to God as possible to bring other people. Mm-hmm. That's pretty hard.
Yeah, no, it's not anything easy. And it always reminds me about how they have like those bells on their garment for whenever they go into the most holy place.
It's dangerous.
It's dangerous because if there's anything inside of you that God's like, yeah, you're toast. So it's like they always have to make sure that they are in accordance. Like it's a hard job. It's not without duty. Like you're physically working for people, ministering to them, guiding them, helping them. But at the same time, the work that you have to do inside is like 10 times as much.
And it's a lot of sacrifice too, because weren't there certain restrictions for things they could and could not do outside of the temples and stuff?
Yeah, they had more laws than the rest of the children.
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. That's very important. Like I was going to show one other things, but since you're taking me in that direction, I'll kind of show you one of the issues which specifically priests, concerning the priests. Take, for example, Leviticus 21, verse 1 and 2.
Yeah, Leviticus, everybody's favorite book.
Oh, yeah, that's, I'm trying to guide everyone.
Okay, you said what verse again? 21, verse 1 and 2? Mm-hmm. Okay. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the priests, the sons of Aaron, and say to them, none shall defile himself for the dead among his people, except for his relatives who are nearest to him, his mother, his father, his son, his daughter, and his brother."
So, what do you mean in a simple term? How do you understand to explain? What does it mean, defile with a dead body?
I initially think maybe like touch it or, prepare it or anything like that. But now, since we're going there, I'm assuming that he can't even go to their funeral? Whoa.
Right. So, you have a friend passes away, cannot go to the funeral. I'm a priest. You can't go. Take a look at the high priest. Read for us. Let's read the same chapter, verse 10 through 12.
The high priest, the one among his brothers who has had the anointing oil poured on his head, and who has been ordained to wear the priestly garments, must not let his hair become unkempt or tear his clothes. He must not enter a place where there is a dead body. He must not make himself unclean, even for his father or mother, nor leave the sanctuary of his God, or desecrate it, because he has been dedicated by the anointing oil for his God. I am the Lord.
So, if the guy is now a high priest, he's basically sitting at the sanctuary. He can't, take...
Can't even leave.
No, because he needs to be pure. There is this whole symbolism. I mean, the whole sanctuary is all about the symbols of the plans of salvation, but priests are the ones who play the... Let me rephrase it. Think of a theater, a sanctuary as a theater. It's like, God created this kind of didactic tool, like think of it like, like for little kids for the Bible study, they use felt.
Yeah. With like the images and stuff like that, the illustration.
Yeah. So that's what I mean by didactic tool, So it's just for education. So everything which is happening in the sanctuary, there's no magic there, there's no kind of manipulation, but it is a teaching tool about what's going to happen in the future, what is actually happening in heaven. And so there are different roles. Like when you look at, for example, the lamb, whom do you think the lamb is symbolizing?
Jesus?
Correct. The sacrifice of the Messiah, right? And so what about the high priest?
Jesus?
Yes, that's another. That's not wrong. Yeah. So to illustrate, to show the totality of the ministry of Jesus, which is very multifaceted, the sanctuary is having different images. You have to show the lamb, and the sacrifice point to Calvary, and you have to have the high priest, and that points up to the heavenly sanctuary, and what happens after Jesus raises from the dead and ascends to heaven, he becomes the high priest. So all of this is shown through the sanctuary services, and this is tough because high priest needs to be cleansed for one reason. Because the main role for Jesus the main role for Jesus is to cleanse us not only from our sin, but save us from death.
Okay.
So there are many rituals which are called purification rituals. You heard of those,
Yep.
Somebody temporarily becomes unclean and then cannot go to the sanctuary. Then he goes to the sanctuary, offers a sacrifice, and priest cleanses him. All this is basically roles which are symbolic to show, okay, Jesus is going to save us from diseases, from death, from all this. And so to illustrate it, they use all kinds of this imagery of purity, impurity.
Right.
So basically, sanctuary, if I were to illustrate sanctuary today, I would illustrate it like a dialysis machine.
Oh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Think about what dialysis do.
Cleans the kidney. Well, it essentially replaces the kidneys function.
Correct.
Which is cleansing the blood.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. So you have to, so basically you have a machine and somebody's kidney is not functioning. So because kidney not functioning, he cannot relieve the toxins from the blood. So blood is full of toxins. So you have to plug, what do you do with dialysis? You have like a line through
An
the
IV.
needle, IV, yeah. So, and then the machine starts basically taking this blood with toxins, instead of your own kidney into this machine, and then you receive back your clean blood. Oh, you feel good.
So it filtrates it essentially.
Yes, so sanctuary is actually the same thing. So you come, your sins, you're unclean. Sins, so how you have sins and you have diseases.
Okay.
So these two problems which Adam and Eve bequeathed us with, sins and diseases, right? So we don't have our own way to cleanse ourselves from it.
Okay.
So sanctuary takes it and filtrates it, brings back, and now we're clean and pure. So in this dialysis machine, right, you have a system of filters. So one patient goes through dialysis, the filters need to be replaced, and a new set of filters put in, correct?
For sure.
So sanctuary must be clean because it functions as this filter.
So is the high priest then an extension of the sanctuary?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Oh, snap. Okay, yeah, that's like a high responsibility because it's...
So you got to be, you cannot, so like the same way as the filter from the dialysis machine, where you take it out, it's in a box, it cannot be sitting outside in a dusty corner, open, unboxed, because it's not going to be usable. All this dust is going to go back into your blood system.
Okay.
Right? So you have filter, the same, it has to be absolutely clean. You have to keep it in a box. You unbox it carefully. And I'm pretty sure that the technicians have all kinds of sets of precaution that it would come inside the machine and would be perfectly clean.
Okay.
So high priest's, his role, a theatrical role, is to basically suck out the uncleannesses and sins upon himself. So it has to be, that's basically the idea.
Okay.
Kind of in the way how Jesus died on the cross, taking all of the sins upon himself, dying for us.
Correct.
But I thought that was the role of the lamb.
Yes, in some way. And then the continuation is the high priest, because you know what happens with the lamb? Lamb is, the lamb sacrifice provides forgiveness.
Okay.
The problem is this: if you are forgiven, do you actually stop, become perfect and sinless after you are forgiven?
No.
Sadly.
Do you know why?
Because we're sinners?
Correct.
Okay.
Sin is a chronic disease. So basically, when a chronic disease manifests itself, how do we know? We probably may have some pain.
Right.
Symptoms.
So you have a pain, like let's say somebody has a chronic hypertension, right? So how does this person know? Headache! Okay, so what do you do with headache? If a headache is unmanageable, they take you to the emergency room, and they give you a very strong pain medicine, just because you need to be stabilized.
Right.
Right? So then you jump from your bed and say, I'm going to go, I'm fine. What do you think is going to happen next?
Gonna come right back. The issue wasn't solved yet.
Exactly. So there needs to be an issue why you have a blood pressure problem. Too much cholesterol? Why? Is this hereditary? Is this a lifestyle? It's all kinds of issues. So our sinfulness is like this. So Calvary is your first step. You get basically forgiveness of your sin, you're pain-free, but you enter the next stage when you start treating your issues. And that's priest is responsible to treat your issues. And that's what Jesus' priestly role is all about.
Okay, so then Hebrews 4:14, or Hebrews, that whole area, general verses, is talking about how Christ is a high priest that can relate to us. So, with everything that we've just kind of rehashed, talked about, opened up, high priests, they're not relatable though. They sit in the sanctuary, they don't move, they don't sin, they don't collect any dust. They're just perfect figures, and they are, helping and facilitating in the forgiveness of sin. So then what is the role that humanity plays in Christ's story?
Very good question. So in the model sanctuary, earthly sanctuary, you got a high priest whom you described. That's a tough job of keeping yourself perfectly clean, not leaving the sanctuary because who knows what is going on out there. You come in, somebody with the blood issue, like gonna defile you, and you're completely defunct.
Okay. So yeah, and then a double-ended question then. I don't know. This whole role of the high priest, I'm actually blown away that they didn't move. They couldn't leave. So
yeah, they moved around the sanctuary, but try to leave,
There isn't far to go.
yeah, it's not far to go. Exactly. So then what do the people now think about them? So I'm almost thinking no wonder these brothers, these cousins had a little bit of a distorted image because they're like, who do these guys think they are?
Yeah, they didn't understand the whole load of responsibilities. And of course, you got also other priests who are, just the regular priests. They're not that much of responsible, but take a look at this. For example, a sin offering, okay? This is what they have to officiate. Can you please read for us Leviticus 6, 25 and 26?
Speak to Aaron and to his sons, saying, this is the law of the sin offering. In the place where the burnt offering is killed, the sin offering shall be killed before the Lord. It is most holy. The priest who offers it for sin shall eat it. In a holy place it shall be eaten, in the court of the tabernacle of meeting.
So basically, this is how the sanctuary theatrically, quote unquote, illustrated how Jesus deals with the sin. So here's a sinner. He comes with his, goat, female goat. Okay, he lays his hands upon the goat, and the priest slaughters it. And now the priest must take this goat, boil its meat with no spices in a cauldron, and then eat it. I don't know. Have you ever tried a goat meat?
It's not very appetizing to me. I'm a biased person to ask.
I like goat meat, and I like it when my grandma makes it. And you best believe my grandma's putting spices, okay?
All right. See, your grandma knows how to spice it. But can you imagine just putting a piece of a goat meat into a pot, just boil it, and then eat it?
No.
And they had to do it all the time, somebody,
Did they have to eat the entire goat or just a piece?
Oh, there was a group of them, and they were their family members, so they had to eat that goat, eat everything. This is the way how it shows that the priest is carrying the burden of the sinner's sin.
Okay.
So, as you know the song, Jesus Takes It All? Jesus is everything. So to show all roles of Jesus, so Jesus is a high priest. He deals with the Satan. On the Day of Atonement, that's what the whole imagery is, how the high priest comes into the most holy. He cleanses he sprinkles the blood of the goat, which is for which is for the Lord, inside the, on the on the top of the Ark of the Covenant. Then he comes in and he lays all the sins of Israel upon this goat, which is, I don't like to use the term scapegoat because there's no such a word in the English language. Scape. It's just invented.
Never thought about that.
In Hebrew, it's goat for the Satan, for Azazel.
Wait,
Oh, that's why they call it that.
a scapegoat? That's why they call it a scapegoat?
Yeah, the word scapegoat is very confusing.
Yeah, I've never even thought about it in the way that. So in Hebrew, what are they referring to when they're talking about a goat for Satan? And then so
one is goat is sacrificed to the Lord, represents the death of Jesus, and the other goat represents Satan. That's why
like
he's called.
Okay.
Yeah, and he's sent out to the desert, and he is the one upon whom all the sins are sitting. So now he is guilty. So that's what Day of Atonement is all about. Day of Atonement is to actually make a guilty verdict. At the end of the Day of Atonement, it's, that's when we think about the anti-typical Day of Atonement, or in other words, what these rituals symbolize is just to show that eventually, for all this evil which is happening in the world, the guilty verdict will be given to Satan. And so that second goat, which is incorrectly labeled as scapegoat, but it's goat for Azazel, and Azazel is the name of the Satan, is actually representing that. So this is the job of the high priest.
Okay.
But the job of the priest is to deal with the sinner and unburden the sinner from his sin.
Mm-hmm.
That's the priest duty. Jesus does first, being sacrificed. Jesus does second, unburdening us from sin. And that's the process which is called sanctification, by the way. So, because what happens at Calvary, or the sacrifice of the Lamb, that's justification. The process of healing us. This is why I keep using a medical term, because Bible presents sin not as just, some people say it's a bunch of choices we make, and wrong choices, just make the right choices. No. You can, like when you are sick and you are coughing, try to choose not to cough.
Yeah.
Doesn't go very well usually.
Right. So is that the role of humanity then in the gospel?
Exactly. So we need something to take away our cough. So sin is that chronic disease. When we come with our sin offering, we talk to Jesus, we unburden ourselves, and Jesus takes it. And then the next thing we know is Jesus is in the role of the high priest, is basically bringing all these sins or responsibility, I would say, to the Satan. And this is how the sanctuary demonstrates to us the end goal of what happened on Calvary.
That sounds more of a blame goat rather than an scapegoat in this case.
You're right. This is why I cannot, this phrase scapegoat, which appears first time in the King James Bible, and then people use it and misinterpret it like the phrase, you made me a scapegoat.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is bigger than that. This is why, but actually, and often, see, this is the problem. In the phrase, just think for a second. This is how misleading it is. You made me a scapegoat. This phrase what does the person imply by saying, you made me a scapegoat?
Like they were wronged. Like they were blamed for somebody else's.
Aha, that's the problem.
Yeah.
And you know what happens very often? Many Christians today, many Christian preachers and theologians think that the second goat is Jesus.
Oh.
And that's the best what Satan wants. Because you have two goats on the Day of Atonement. One is for the Lord, which is sacrificed, and its blood is sprinkled on the Ark of the Covenant inside the Most Holy. That goat definitely represents whom?
Jesus.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And then you have a second goat, which doesn't die.
Right.
I'm wrong. The second goat does not get sacrificed. His blood is not spilled in the sanctuary. And they teach it's Jesus. So you got two Jesuses. Makes no sense.
Yeah, no.
But in reality, this is where I see the problem with using the term scapegoat, because King James Bible invented this term because they didn't know how to translate the Hebrew term Azazel. So they invented the scapegoat. And then people misinterpreted it. And you're right. Scapegoat is someone who is not guilty, but the guilt is put on him. So, hey, where is the Satan here?
Right.
There's no justice. You know, Jesus knew no sin. So somebody is the major instigator of it. And that's why sanctuary service, you know, this very intricate system of ritual actually shows how God is going to, number one, deal with the burden of our sins, and how, number two, he's going to deal with Satan, who is the origin of all our sin burdens and chronic diseases.
That's right. That's right. So he is the one, Jesus pays for it, but Satan is like
In other words, you're right. With his blood, Jesus pays the price and takes the punishment. But Jesus is not the reason of evil.
Okay, so not the origin, but he's the closer.
He's just takes it away from us.
Okay.
Instead of us battling the Satan, he takes it upon himself and wins our case.
There we go. So God bless the sanctuary. God bless his plan for salvation. And God bless you all. Thank you so much for joining us and learning a little bit more about not just the sanctuary, the roles of the high priest, the roles of Jesus, and the role that the devil plays in this sick, sad world. God made it and the devil hated it, but we love you and we're so glad you came to join us. We want to see you on the next one, so please subscribe, like the video, comment down below on what you took away from this lesson and what you're going to share with your friends and family, and hit that bell notification so you'd never miss an upload. Thanks again. Bye-bye.